Let me also welcome you this morning. My name is Andy Morgan. I'm the pastor here at Faith Church, and it's good to be able to gather together. Let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. Good win for Penn State yesterday. You could beat Michigan State. I hate to tell you, but that's not saying much, because my Spartans aren't very good this year, so... And I think that you hockey fans, did you win in hockey too? Yeah, so you beat the number one hockey team. But anyway, at this time of year, I'm always like, oh, is it still football season? Like, I've moved on. Because at least when it comes to NCAA basketball, I'm a Duke fan, a Duke alum, a Michigan State alum, a UConn fan. So I usually have some pretty good teams to root for. But for someone who is totally not athletic, I do enjoy rooting for the teams that I went to. I think Duke football lost, but who knew Duke had a football team, right? When I was much younger, a pastor, first couple of years in Altoona, I'll show my great athletic prowess. I was playing ultimate frisbee with my youth group, and I decided to go one way, and my knee decided to go the other way. And I didn't know it at the time, but I probably tore my ACL, and I just kind of nursed it and dealt with it for many years. I always tell people my knee would like pop out of joint. It would like just kind of go out of joint, and I would just kind of pop it back in. And I did that for about 5 years, 6 years, until one day it popped out and I could not get it back in. And by now I'm in Lewisburg, and I had a lot of doctors in the church, and they were great. They said, Andy, you really need to get this looked at. So they sent me to an orthopedic surgeon. They did an MRI. Sure enough, I had a torn ACL. And fortunately, knowing the right people, they scheduled me for surgery really fast, and I was all ready to go for an ACL reconstruction. Now, I thought that the recovery would be a couple of days on crutches, and so I did not line up any help. You see, my dad had a torn meniscus, and they just went in and cleaned it out, and he was a couple days on crutches. I'm thinking it's the same thing. And so everyone said, Andy, you going to need any help? I'm like, no, I'll be fine. They're like, and it's like, yeah, I'll just be a couple days on crutches, and I'll be back to normal. And they were like, we don't think so. So everyone kept telling me that this might be a little more involved than what you think. And so I thought, well, to ease their mind, I will call the orthopedics office, and I say, okay, hey, I'm having ACL reconstruction next week, and I just need to know, like, what's the post-op, procedure? And she said, well, you will be in therapy and non-weight bearing for 8 weeks. I said, non-weight bearing, what does that mean? And she said, well, you'll be on crutches for 8 weeks. So I'm like, okay, can I drive? And she's like literally laughing, saying, no. I'm like, okay, thank you. And I hung up the phone, and I sat down, and I cried. I'm like, what am I going to do? I mean, this was like Thursday. My ACL surgery was Monday. I had nothing lined up, no one coming to help, nothing. And so once I pulled myself together, I started calling all the people who said that they would help. And I said, hey, I'm wrong. It looks like I am going to need some help. Can you help with this? And so I had a lot of help, as it turned out, which was great. But I learned 2 important lessons during those 8 weeks of getting help. Being on the receiving end of service is not always easy, but it's a blessing. It is a huge blessing. When other people serve us, it is a blessing. People were willing to drive me to the church so I could keep working. They drove me to doctor's appointments. They drove me to therapy 3 times a week. They drove, they went and got groceries for me. One couple, very, very humbling, came over and cleaned my house, and it was just amazing for 2 months, all the people who were willing to help. You see, too often we undervalue our service to other people. We think, well, it's not that big a deal. Well, I'm just doing a little bit. But for anyone who's been on the receiving end of that help, it was huge. It was a huge blessing to me. I also learned that asking others for help and allowing them to serve is a blessing to them. And it can make their life better. And it can lead them closer to Jesus. George Noble was one of the men who offered to take me to therapy appointments. He said he would take me, wait during the appointment, and then take me home. I insisted that he not wait during the appointment, that I would line up someone to come and take me home, and he reluctantly agreed to that. But he wanted to be my driver during those 2 months. Anywhere I wanted to go, he was like, I'll take you, Andy, I'll take you. And I didn't want to be a burden, and so I just kept finding, more people to spread the work out. But I soon found out that his desire to serve me was more of a blessing in his life than I ever knew. Not long after my knee was healed and I was back to normal, George was diagnosed with advanced pulmonary fibrosis. And it's when the tissue in your lungs kind of begins to turn to a honeycomb-type material, and your lungs just basically shut down. There was nothing that they could do. He went into the hospital and never got out. It was very quick, and it was very devastating for his wife, and we were preparing for George's memorial service, and we were talking about all the things he had done, and he was kind of a larger-than-life guy, and he had done a lot with his life, and so we were, laughing and telling stories and remembering all that he had done. And then his wife shared with me that one of the greatest joys of his life in the last couple of years, she said, Andy, was actually being your driver. He loved that. He was so excited to tell people that he was the driver for his pastor. See, George didn't always attend church. He wasn't active in his faith that much, but stepping out to serve began to draw him closer to Jesus. He loved the times that he was driving me around. We had great conversations, and I honestly was humbled and a little upset with myself that I didn't allow him to do it more, because I just didn't realize what a blessing it was to him. Asking people for help for those 2 months taught me 2 important lessons. The service we provide to others is more of a blessing to them than we know. And serving others has the ability to draw us closer to God. Now, let me be clear. This is not a message talking about, well, let's let others serve us so they can grow closer to God. That is not the message. Although, if you're like me and you are always, denying and rejecting help, you might want to think about that, because it is a blessing to allow others to serve. But really, this is a call for us to serve, to make sure that serving others and that service is a habit and a rhythm of our lives, because it will make life better. If serving others draws us closer to God, if we find our rest in God, well, that's where the best life is found. And so Jesus told his disciples that whoever wanted to be the greatest shouldn't seek power and position, but should be willing to serve. In Matthew chapter 20, Jesus says, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus didn't come here so that people could serve him. He could have. He was the Son of God. He had all power and position. We're going to face this someday. Every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. He could have come to be served, but he didn't. He came to set an example of service. If you want to be great, Jesus said, then serve others. You want to experience the best life you can, serve others. You want to grow closer to God, serve others. It would be just a few days later that Jesus would give his disciples and the world and us the greatest example of service. They're gathered at a Passover meal. They're all at the table. None of the disciples wanted to lower themselves to do the work of a servant, and so they're all there with dirty feet. And so Jesus gets up, takes off his outer robe, gets a towel and a basin, and begins to wash the feet of the disciples. This was the job of the lowest household servant. Let's face it, when you're not wearing shoes and you're out all day, it's a dirty and disgusting job. No one wanted to do this. But Jesus said, if you want to be great, you want to experience the best life possible, find ways to serve others. When he was done, Jesus said this, now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. You will be blessed if you do them. You will be blessed if you serve. Life will be better if we will serve. We will look more like Jesus. We'll be drawn into a closer relationship with God if we serve. Serving really does make life better. The early church embraced this idea. All of the teaching we have in the New Testament, letters from the leaders of the early church, the example of the early church, lifts this value of serving others. In Galatians chapter 5, it says, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command, love your neighbor as yourself. The teaching of the church, don't think of yourself too highly, serve others. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. However God has gifted you, whatever God has blessed you with, whatever place you find yourself in life, use that to serve others. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Well, if you value them, you're going to do what? You're going to serve them. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. What do other people need? How can I serve those around me? It's not about me. It is about them. Again and again, the Bible calls us to serve others as a way to look more like Jesus, as a way to bless those around us, to help us bring other people maybe closer to Jesus. See, when we serve God, particularly in and through the church, we may not think it's a big deal. We may not think we're making a difference, but we are. It makes a bigger impact than what we imagine. Our serving others can literally draw people, those we serve and those around us, into a relationship with God. Carl had always been skeptical of the church and of Christians. Like many people, he thought that most Christians and most followers of Jesus were somewhat hypocritical. They talked about looking like Jesus, but they didn't look much like him. His wife got involved here at the church, and then when she got sick, there were people who were willing to reach out and bring some food to the house. She wasn't able to move around very much, and so some people took some food in, and so Carl is seeing people he doesn't know bring food for his wife and family into the house, and he's like, who does that? Like, what kind of people is this? Then he heard that we did a Christmas dinner where we served people on Christmas Day. And he's like, what kind of people give up their Christmas Day to serve a bunch of strangers in the community? Like, who does that? So one year, Carl came up to the Christmas dinner, kind of walked around. They got a meal. And he saw all these people serving and the joy that they had, and he's like, this is something else. I want to be a part of this. The next year, Carl was serving at the Christmas dinner. He actually was the one who greeted, at that point in time, when someone came in for a takeout dinner, they would come into the building and we'd send them to a specific room, and Carl was the one who would greet them. And he'd take their order, and then he'd hand them the meal. Eventually, Carl started coming to worship. And then he was in worship every Sunday. And then he joined a small group, and then he got involved in Bible study. And being part of serving and then part of the church, it shaped his heart, it shaped his life. He grew closer to Jesus. It radically changed who he was. Being on the receiving end of serving, seeing people serve in Jesus' name, stepping out to then serve others, being a blessing to others, all draws us closer to God. It made a radical difference in Carl's life. And when serving becomes the habit of our life, it makes our life better. If for no other reason, then when we are serving people, we're growing closer to God. When we find our rest in God alone, we're living the best life possible. Now, here's the thing. I don't think I've told you anything you don't know. I don't think I've told you anything that you didn't already hear and believe. Just like we know that worshiping God and reading God's word will draw us closer to God, so intrinsically we somehow know that serving others is part of what it means to live out our faith. It's part of what maybe draws us closer to God and helps people see who Jesus is. We know it's good. We know we should do it. It's a value. But too often, we don't do it. And so part of the question is, why don't we? What holds us back? What are the voices in our head that keep us from serving others the way that probably we want to? One thing that I think can hold us back is wondering if I serve in this way, is it really going to make a difference? Either we think the work itself isn't going to make a difference, or we think that what we have to offer isn't going to make a difference. Too often we undervalue what we can do. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not skilled enough, I'm not talented enough, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. It's so easy to just tell ourselves, well, I really don't have anything to offer, and what little I have really isn't going to make a difference. And so we don't step out and serve. But serving others does make a difference. It makes a big difference. Again, it makes a bigger difference than you know. In 2022, there was a report in the Journal of Experimental Psychology. Two researchers, Kumar and Epley, published their findings on the impact of serving others. And I'm just going to read you the title because it says it all. The title literally says it all. A little good goes an unexpectedly long way. Understanding the positive impact of kindness on recipients. A little good goes an unexpectedly long way. And so what they did was they just told people to go out and do random acts of kindness, but somehow they were able to see who the people who received it were. They went and they talked to those people. And so they began to ask them, well, how much effort do you think you put in? Oh, I didn't put in any effort at all. It was like nothing. And then they asked the people who were served, well, what was the impact? Oh my gosh, the impact is big. That they were willing to do that was huge in my life. It made a difference in my day. It made a difference in my life. It made a difference. It made a big difference. And so what they began to find out is that the service that we offer is more powerful. It makes a bigger difference than we can imagine. They put this in a graph form, which I think really helps us understand. So the light blue lines first are the performer expectations. So how big? Oh, it was about this big. The black lines are the recipient's actual experience. I put in this much effort. It was this much of an impact. How big? It was big. The time invested. I didn't put a lot of time in, but the recipients that they gave so much time. Money invested. Well, it was a little bit of money, but the people think, oh no, what they gave was more. It was more than what we thought. Energy invested. We just gave a little bit of energy. Oh no, they had to have given this much energy. The experiences is always greater. The impact is always greater than what the people put in. The recipient's mood is the one that's really interesting because, again, the blue line is performer expectations, and it's really high. Why? Because we feel good when we do good things, right? We feel good when we serve people. You do random acts of kindness, and you feel good about it, and we should. And they knew that that was going to be a high thing. And studies show, yeah, people felt good about it. But the people who received it felt better. Always better. Always a greater impact. And then I love this last one. How awkward. It's the only thing that those who were serving said, oh, it was incredibly awkward. I felt so uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was doing. And the recipients were like, it wasn't awkward at all. It was so kind of them. It was so gracious of them. So they do these tests, and they're like, wow, that's really interesting. We didn't realize that the little bit that we give is seen as this much. And so they did the test a second time, and they got the same results. They did the test a third time, they got the same results. They did the test a fourth time and got the same results. What does that tell us? It tells us that we undervalue our service. It always makes a bigger impact than what we think. It always blesses people more. And you know what else? It's not as awkward as we think. Have you ever, just bought a cup of coffee for someone or, paid for someone's meal or, paid for someone's groceries? I mean, we feel so awkward. Oh, excuse me, can I do this? It just feels weird. And to them, it's like, this is, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, that was so nice. Our service always makes more of an impact. We undervalue the impact of our service. We tell ourselves it doesn't make a difference or that it doesn't matter, but it does. Just a little bit goes a long way. Right now, we are in the process of building and collecting shoeboxes for Operation Christmas Child. I don't know what you think when you put a box together. Maybe you're thinking, is this really going to make a difference? Does it make a difference in a person's life? Is what I'm doing really any good? Does a comb and a toothbrush and a toy and a washcloth and some pens and paper, does that really make a difference? You might not think it does. But the impact of one box is huge in a person's life, in a family's life, in the life of a community. I want you to listen to this testimony.
Barangay Tibtib is one of the remotest areas in Iloilo. There is no electricity, no running water, no infrastructure in the area. But because Operation Christmas Child, the gift boxes were brought to the area, and as a result, a church was built.
It's slippery, it's muddy, it's physically challenging.
We appreciate our ministry partners and volunteers in this area who hike for 1.5 hours every Saturday to go and teach the children in Barangay Tibtib.
Pastor ako diri sa Graceville Baptist Church. Ining area, outreach sa Graceville Baptist Church. nabudlayan pa man kami magtipon sa mga tao kay hindi pa gid amo na ka-open ang mga tao diri. Ang mga tao hindi mo dayon basta-basta mapapati. Tungod sa poverty nila, tungod sa ilang mga sitwasyon. And here comes the Operation Christmas Child. Nag-open gid siya sang door. Nagumpisa na ka palapit ka nagbukas man sa at the same time sa una-una kag sa hearts ng mga tao diri.
Excited gid kag nalipay tanan. Tiway na tong ginabulag ang ana mga panganan may tama kraka ang panganan. Gisulod na ras bagbag nga gamay.
The greatest journey. Nangin amo to siya ang amon niya ning guide sa pag-disciple, sa pagtudlo sa mga kabataan. So nakita namon nga damo parents ang naga-join. And then that's the beginning. I-gather ko, tipunon ko ang mga parents. And we will have our own Bible classes. Amat-amat, nag-grow ang ministry.
Ti hanggang din pag bag-onan dae. Ti sang una wa simbahan doon. Wa mati naman ang mga tao. Ti anay nga may simbahan doon. Diyan nami nagasimba. Nalipay gid kami kag pati ang mga bata nalipay simba.
Through Operation Christmas Child, we see how evangelism, discipleship, and multiplication is taking place. Each of these gift boxes is a gospel opportunity that reach the children in the remotest areas of the Philippines.
And honestly, this is what happens when you put a box together, or when you build a box online, or when you contribute money to the shipping. An hour and a half hike every week to deliver boxes. I don't know what they got paid. Maybe nothing, because maybe they were doing it as part of a mission or part of a ministry. But one box makes a difference. It opened the door for the church to be able to share with people in their community the love of God. And then I loved what she said. Our community started to change. Didn't take all the struggles away, didn't take all the problems away. They still wrestled with lots of things, but they had hope. They knew that there was a God who loved them, who was there for them. The church helped build a sense of community. This is one of the most remote regions that Operation Christmas Child was serving. One box makes a huge difference. Again, we think we're just putting in this much effort, but on the receiving end, when God gets involved, I mean, it's infinite. The sky's the limit on what God can do with what we're willing to put in. So, all of you who are putting boxes together, don't think that what you're doing isn't going to change a life and change a family and perhaps be the catalyst to change a community. There's so many ways that we can continue to make an impact in the world. The reality is, in the next several weeks, there's going to be many opportunities for us to serve and to make a difference. In just a couple weeks, we're going to be starting the sign-ups for our Christmas dinner. Last year, we served 1,200 meals in our community. That's a lot of food put together and served in a very short period of time, and it takes a lot of people and a lot of hands and a lot of people working together. There'll be ways that you can sign up to be a part of that, either before Christmas or particularly on Christmas Day. We've already heard about that impact, the impact of that ministry in one person's life, in one family's life. It makes a difference. Our serving on that day makes a difference. And if you talk to anyone who serves, it makes a difference in us as well. There are also so many ways to serve in the community this time of year. There's one of our small groups that is looking at going and wrapping gifts for Toys for Tots. Another great organization in our community. You can donate to Toys for Tots, and you may think that the little gift you're putting in the box isn't going to make that much of a difference, but if it's the only gift that a child gets, then it makes a huge difference. You can help being part of wrapping the gifts or distributing them. There's so many ways this time of year. You can help serve in the church by signing up to help with one of our 4 Christmas Eve services. We have 4 services because we can't get everyone into the sanctuary for one. Last year, again, we welcomed over 1,000 people on Christmas Eve to worship. That takes a lot of hands. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of people serving and welcoming and greeting, and pray to God that it's good weather, because we've never done it in bad weather, but trust me, if it's bad weather, we need more people serving. We want everyone to have the best experience possible. We want this place to look clean for every gathering, and so we clean the sanctuary in between gatherings, and it takes people to do that. Serving in the church is one way to make a difference. All of last month, we had the little Get in the Game promotion where you could serve in the church, because maybe just serving on one Sunday, just standing at the door saying good morning or opening the door, you may not think that that's going to make a difference. It makes a big difference. Standing at the back, just welcoming people, helping maybe someone find a seat, giving someone a bulletin. Any ways that we can welcome people, we think we're only given this much. We're giving so much more. We may feel like it's really awkward because we're all afraid of saying, hey, are you new here? And someone else is going to say, no, I've been coming for 6 weeks. And it feels kind of awkward. But hey, at least that week I said hello, so this is good. It makes a difference. We want to invite you to get in the game. You can still do that. The QR code, we got it up and running again. You can scan the QR code. It's in the lobby to just serve on any Sunday. All through December, we have more people worshiping with us, and we want to make it the best experience possible. Now, the reality is that you can serve people every day through just random acts of kindness. Whether it's your family, whether it's your neighbors in your schools, at work, people you don't even know, people you see in the grocery store. Maybe it's buying someone a cup of coffee, helping someone who's struggling with a bunch of groceries in the parking lot and they're trying to do it on their own. You see your neighbor out raking leaves, and so you go to help them, or you drop off cookies to the family next door because they have, 5 kids, and you know what it was like when you had young kids, and you just want them to have something home baked that will make their day. So many ways that we can do random acts of kindness. And remember, all those studies were just random acts of kindness. And the impact was huge. Every day we can choose to serve and make a habit and a rhythm of it in our lives. And when we do, we will make more of an impact in others than we know, and it will make our lives better. And when we start making random acts of kindness less random and more a rhythm, we'll be living the best life possible. And we'll be living in a closer relationship with God. We'll be growing deeper in our faith. The simple act of service, the implications are huge. The difference it can make is eternal. Would you pray with me?